Check. 1, 2. Okay, first video. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Vibe Media channel, where we help brands tell their story through education, inspiration, and entertainment video content to build a influencer-level online presence. I'm Rich Wilson, founder and lead director at Vibe Media, and welcome to our brand new podcast. Now, this podcast is for film enthusiasts, up-and-coming filmmakers just like us. We talk about filmmaking and some of the films that we like and what we do in our own careers to build our own brand and telling our story through the filmmaking and the films that we enjoy. Now in this, our first episode is going to be just an overview of what to expect from the podcast, who we are, what Vibe is all about, and what kind of films that we like to enjoy. So buckle up and let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Vibe Check, a brand new podcast about filmmaking and film enthusiasts. I'm Rich Wilson, film director and founder of Vibe Media, and I'm here with two of my colleagues here, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
So my name's Forrest, cinematographer and director of photography here at Vibe.
I am Dayna. I am producer and customer relations at Vibe.
All right, so we are doing a podcast, guys.
Yeah, about time.
I know. We've been talking about this for quite a while. So this episode is kind of an intro episode about who we are, what Vibe Media is, and where we are going with our podcast and our new, I guess, YouTube channel and so many other things. We're doing a new direction. So I started Vibe back in 2015 when I finished college. After college, I went to college for acting, actually, and I went into filmmaking. And so I started the company. We've been doing some videos for a lot of corporate clients, a lot of law firms we've focused a lot on, but we are branching out to other areas. And that's where Forrest came in. We were doing a conference video back, I think 2016, 2017. It was in Denver, Colorado, when I first met you. When I flew you out,
Yes.
That was the first time I met you. I hired you to come out, and I'd never met you before, and yet,
and here I was.
And then here you are, and you've been with us pretty much ever since.
Yeah, we kind of knew each other, same social circles, went to the same high school, but never met each other, kind of never crossed paths. Went out, worked with Rich, we got along really well. Just became a thing that we're like, hey, let's keep this going. We can start working on our own stuff independently too at the same time, build more creative things. Been excited. I've been doing film since 2009. When I went into college, I actually went to Arizona State University for film and business. So that's kind of where I first really delved into it. Always had an interest in film before. Other than that, born in Arizona, native here, and then
an interesting fact about you, which is kind of funny because you are a cinematographer, is...
I am severely colorblind. I am two types of colorblindness, most severe of both types. It's become the butt of the joke around here at the Vibe office that all the time we'll make fun of colors and things of that nature.
What color is peanut butter?
So about 2 years ago, I found out that peanut butter was not green. So if that puts that into perspective for everybody, that's how colorblind I am. I've managed to work around it, doing a lot of my visual stuff. That's why I do a lot of vibrant colors, because those are colors that I can see. But yeah, it's an interesting adaptation that you have to do for cinematography, because things look different for you than everybody else.
And I will tell you, it's a quite interesting way of looking at it. And then we have Dayna, who is still fairly new here. You've been here about a year.
Coming up.
Yeah, coming up on a year now. And so, Dayna, tell us.
So I joined right after dropping out of college. Decided I didn't really want to do criminal justice, which is what I was solely kind of going for. I realized I more so wanted to make movies about stuff that kind of follows into like that whole realm of stuff that I was studying. So I found you on Indeed and I applied and you emailed me, and it just kind of kicked me off into this pathway of doing something that I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, and it's been a great year so far, despite the fact, 2020, COVID. I'm not going to lie, it's been a very slow year for us, as it has been industry-wide for not just filmmaking, but all facets of the entertainment, music, live events, etc. Like everything is just on hiatus. But we will probably get to that in a future podcast, if not probably the next podcast. We'll talk about filmmaking in 2020. So, yeah.
Other than that, just giving you guys a lowdown of what the podcast is really going to look like. We're planning on doing an interesting kind of format. We're going to be doing reviews and recommendations every other week or so. So we're kind of all going to bring together a movie that we've maybe never seen or something that we need to rewatch, kind of talk about it as a separate podcast, interesting things about it, as well as just some controversial topics in Hollywood, things that can maybe also be revamped here. Just as we go along, there's a lot of topics that don't necessarily have to do with film directly, but are related in an interesting way. So we're going to kind of mix those throughout over the next couple weeks and go on and go forth that way. So.
Yeah, we want this podcast to be like our core elements for Vibe is we help brands build a influencer level online presence through education, inspiration, and entertainment. Those are our core values. And we want this podcast to also reflect that as we are talking about some of the films that we love, also what's happening in the film industry, because honestly, a lot of us are still very early on in our filmmaking career. Even though I started this company 5 years ago, I still feel like I'm barely scratching the surface when it comes to this, because we haven't really done too many films. You've been on film sets a little bit here and there. I really have not. I've been to Disney Studios, but I didn't do anything there. I just looked at the big empty soundstage where they filmed Pirates of the Caribbean 3 at the time, which was awesome. But we are still very early on. So if you are early on in your filmmaking career, you're going to be on this journey with us as well. And I feel like that this podcast can help all of us really get to that next chapter of our filmmaking.
Well, and even for established people, I mean, if you're wanting new points of view, interesting things that are going to be a little different, we're here with that. We have a range of experience in different types of fields that people may not normally have. As I said, I've worked on a couple of film sets, but nothing that's really taken off full time, or short work where you're working for 3 or 4 months and then nothing. And it's like back to the grind, trying to find the next big project. So,
and I have done nothing, absolutely nothing.
You're doing this
but
now.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
You're doing this now, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to start somewhere, which is what we are doing with this podcast, right? And doing with our own content. We've been talking about it, like Forrest and I, we were talking about it since 2017. We were talking about different things we've been wanting to do, and we've never had a chance to do it because our client stuff have come first, right? And since then, we were thinking, okay, we will get to it eventually. But now, thanks to COVID, and I will say thank you, COVID, we've actually had the chance to actually, even though it's still late in the year, but still we are starting somewhere. And
it was almost a soft reboot. It's one of those that, we had this idea going forward. We had a lot of these steady things that we were working on consistently every year, but I think all of us were kind of struggling with wanting to do more. I know I personally want to do a lot more creative projects that I'm not getting the chance to. I'm doing a lot of real estate photography, we're doing all these conferences, and as much as those can be fun, they can also not get your creative juices flowing as much as possible. So it gave us a chance to kind of say, hey, we're going to have to rethink about everything this year because the industry's changing drastically. And how can we start off the new year better? This is, almost the last quarter of the year, but, we're still thinking future after 2020's over, that 2020 hindsight, essentially, no pun intended. We're gonna look for ways to expand, to touch on some interesting topics, and look at some cool movies and everything too.
Yeah, I think it's really given us a chance to become more adaptable and figure out ways of making this work for us instead of, having to try and work around it and figure something else out. Instead of we're just kind of rolling with it, and I think that's the best thing we can honestly do, or else we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, that's right. I totally agree. This has been a very foundational year, kind of going back to the basics, back to the foundation, because you're absolutely right, Forrest. We want to be more creative, and a lot of filmmakers out there really need to push that creative envelope if they're not having consistent work. A lot of us, because of COVID, we've all gone back to working 3 or 4 different jobs. We've got other full-time positions. We've got other part-time jobs that we're working. We're not working on the core things that we are passionate about, but that's okay. Sometimes that happens, and you have to start somewhere. And this is what we are doing with this podcast and us going forward with our own content. You could listen to this podcast. You could watch it on our YouTube channel. We are going to be creating new YouTube videos. In fact, like a whole new vibe is going to be is coming out of this, and I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm too. We're gonna do some breakdowns. Each of us kind of tackling our specific area of expertise within breakdowns. Sometimes separate things, sometimes the same. We're kind of creating these channels and subsections within the YouTube channel for people that are interested in one specific topic. So if somebody specifically is interested in cinematography, they can look towards some of my stuff because I'm going to be doing color breakdowns, shot breakdowns, things of that nature. If they're looking for more of the major overall production side of things, they're going to kind of lean towards Rich, where he has more of that expertise of putting things together and directing and how that's interesting. And then Dayna over there is going to be kind of more of the pre-production, a lot of the location scouting, a lot of all of those things that go into that aspect. There's so much that goes into film. As everybody knows who's in the industry, films, the credits sequences are getting longer and longer every movie because there's thousands of people. We're just 3 people, so we're going to try to tackle as much as we can in our knowledge. But
Absolutely.
Obviously, we'd love, any recommendations people have, any thoughts on what you guys want us to talk about. Definitely let us know. I think it's we're kind of an open book at this point. We're starting fresh. We're willing to kind of go where everything takes us.
Yeah. So to kind of finish off this podcast, this podcast, this first episode is going to be a little shorter than some of our other ones. We're going to try to keep it to about 30 minutes, our podcast, because it's a vibe check, right? We're checking up on each other. We're checking up on how you are doing and what we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So last question is the intent. What is your why? What is the intent for this podcast moving forward, Dayna?
Lots of pressure. No pressure on you at all, right?
Oh, this is a lot of pressure. I guess my intent is to really kind of, I don't know, I don't have education. I don't have experience in the film industry. I just like to watch movies. I am very open to all different types of genres and directors and, everything that kind of piques my interest. I'm open to all of it, and I'm really excited to kind of get to talk about that with you guys and get your opinions on it and different perspectives and viewpoints on scenes and, tone and all that stuff. I guess that's kind of my intention is to just talk about it, talk about movies and how cool they are.
For me, just season it in a different way. I did go to film school. Didn't go kind of full gung-ho in film school. I kind of used it to work on other things while I was there instead of kind of focusing on a capstone that normally people do. But I do have kind of a different take on things. I think a lot of my time was put in practice and on sets. Not that I'm anywhere near where I'd like to be, but I think I can bring some insight on that. So I'd like training people or teaching people some of the things that I've learned, making the process easier for new people in the industry, or giving, again, a different perspective on how things are through colorblind eyes, I should say. So,
Yeah. And I guess my intention for this podcast and moving forward with the rest of our channel is it is interesting to see us from different perspectives. You've got the film school guy. You've got someone with no experience, and then I'm somewhere kind of in the middle. I don't have any film school experience, but I've self-taught myself a lot of things. I still have a long way to go, and to learn really about everything. Like editing is like the bane of society. For me, and I know for you, Forrest. Like we're not very editor heavy. Like we can edit videos and our
we've had to as
absolutely.
Part of it. You have to be a one-man show for so long, but
as far as like color grading and so many of these other things, it's hard to like really get that,
especially in such a small group.
Yeah,
I mean, when everybody has to tackle
absolutely.
multiple roles, it's
So my intention for this is that we are on a journey to become really great filmmakers, to really help the brands that we are help building in to create an online presence that is almost influencer level, and that's what we continue to explore with our channel. It's gotta hit the education, the inspiration, and the entertainment. And I honestly, we are pretty entertaining as well. So it's going to be quite crazy.
It will be entertaining.
It will be entertaining.
We're starting off hot. I know we're going to talk about filmmaking in 2020 as the kind of next podcast. I think that's what our plan was. What we also wanted to do, because I'd mentioned before, we're going to be doing movie recommendations to each other for things that we either haven't seen or things that we should revisit. So I think it'd be a good time to kind of leave off this episode letting you guys know what to expect, maybe. For some of these recommendations, we did some brainstorming ahead of time.
We did.
On what we wanted to suggest to each other. So I don't know who wants to take first.
So basically, this is movies that the other two haven't seen. Like, I've seen a movie, but you guys haven't.
Or
again, we haven't seen in a while, but we want to talk about. So I guess I'll start. I was thinking about this, and some of the conversations that we've had is that you guys have not seen 1917. No. I saw it last year I saw it just before all the theaters shut down, and it's incredible. So that is my challenge to you guys, is that in a future episode we will talk about 1917. We're going to come back together. We're going to look at everything about it, and we'll talk about it.
Before you guys come at us, we're busy people. We don't have time to see every movie, so there are going to be some movies that will probably surprise people that we haven't seen. I know there's a few more that I've talked to you guys that I haven't seen before, and that always gets me some flack.
Oh, you guys just wait until I recommend movies for you.
So then what is your recommendation?
So personally, one of my all-time favorite movies is Parasite. And I know neither of you have seen that yet.
No.
And it's an Oscar winner.
And I know it
swept the
won.
board.
I know it won Best Director. I know it won Best Picture. But yeah, I have not seen it.
Oh, just wait. It's a rabbit hole you're going to go down and probably not come out of.
I've heard very interesting things about it. I've heard that it's tense, that it's a little weird of a movie.
It's got a variety of tones that I feel like everyone can kind of resonate with in some type of way, or there's something in it, I think, for everyone.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm excited. You know what? Maybe we should do that for the Halloween episode. Absolutely. I think we'll do that for the Halloween episode.
Okay, and then I think I'm going to introduce these guys to films that I had to tackle in film school, I think. So one of the first ones that comes to mind when I was doing that was Run Lola Run. It's
I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's a classic, I think it's 98, I think. German or Russian film.
Something like that.
Something
Okay.
like that. It's very interesting. It has some influences into some of the video game world, and I'm a huge gamer, so it'll be interesting to see if you guys pick up on some of those clues and see what you think.
Interesting. You know what? I actually just realized this, that both of you picked foreign films.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
you've got a German or Belgian, movie. You've got a Korean movie. And then here I am with just like the mainstream.
Well, yours is British. That's over the sea.
Yeah,
That's
so
overseas.
we're American. It's overseas. Yeah, it was in World War One.
I'm sure it'll
Yeah,
change.
sure.
It's one of those that, me in film school, that's what they start off as.
Oh,
They
yeah.
teach you all the basics of where film started and how things change. So it's definitely, I got some tricks up my sleeve as well. So we'll see what happens with future recommendations. But I think it's going to be every other week we'll come back and talk about one of those movies. So plan ahead on that. Just short little, each one's going to come back with some interesting facts about the movie. Ask the others what they thought about it, any of their interesting takes on it, and we'll kind of break it down in different aspects.
And I think with that note, let's end this podcast. And we will see you in the next one with Vibe Check. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of our brand new podcast show. And we are super excited to be able to start creating content for you guys. This is not going to be the only thing that we are going to put out, but every Friday, expect a brand new episode of Vibe Check from our channel, Vibe Media. So go, subscribe, hit the notifications, follow us everywhere on our social medias at Vibe Media US. That's Vibe Media _US. Make sure you put your comments down below. Let us know how we are doing and give us any suggestions on some future episodes you'd like to hear in the show and the podcast and much more other videos that we are going to put on this brand new channel. And to help you build your brand through education, inspiration, and entertainment, and to help you tell your story.